Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military Summary channel. In this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have a lot of very interesting updates, so let's start. And first we're going to talk about Ukraine. According to media, the Ukrainians intensifying the mobilization process. Ukraine plans to reduce mobilization deferments and find 1 million draft dodgers. Such discussions are underway in the Rada. Stronger mechanisms for deserters are being discussed and may be introduced. Whether such a number of deferments is necessary will be analyzed and a reduction will be implemented. So another important update on this matter was published yesterday in the evening. According to Yuri Kasyanov, military officer, mobilization is key in Kiev is intensifying on the streets. There are more recruiters and in some places they even block major roads. According to him, he had only seen such raids in Kharkiv before. Kasyanov also stated that according to his information, the mobilization plan has reportedly been increased from 30 to 35,000 people per month. So the Ukrainians are intensifying the mobilization process, and the question is why the Ukrainians are doing this. Either the Ukrainians are planning to carry out another counter-offensive operation with the purpose to force the Russians to fall back from the major directions like the Zaporozhye direction or the Konstantinovka or the Slavyan directions, or the Ukrainians are preparing themselves before the beginning of the Russian major offensive operation in the area of the city of Zaporozhye, because they understand that the Russians concentrated huge forces and the Ukrainians need also huge forces with the purpose to slow down the Russians. So which means that the spring and the summer military campaigns are going to be very, very hot and very, very difficult for both the Russians and the Ukrainians. Also, overnight, both the Russians and the Ukrainians continued attacking each other with drones and missiles. The Ukrainians published several videos of how they were attacking objects of air defense infrastructure of the Russian Federation in the Kherson region. A lot of drones were used, a lot of vehicles were damaged and destroyed. The Russians from their side were attacking the Odessa region, trying to pin down and to destroy as many as possible launching sites that Ukrainians used to attack in the southern, in the direction of the southern regions of the Russian Federation. Furthermore, explosions were recorded in the northeastern part of Kharkiv region, where we can see how the Russians, as a result of reconnaissance operation, managed to discover a temporary deployment point of the armored forces of Ukraine, and then the Russians began bombing and attacking this territory with a significant number of drones. Now let's discuss the situation on the ground, and first let's talk about the Zaporozhye direction, where both the Russians and the Ukrainians continue their offensives. And the Russians during the previous nights during the previous days more precisely, managed to improve their positions in the area of the settlement of Takmachka. This video was published by pro-Ukrainian sources, and here we can see how Ukrainians were attacking a sabotage and reconnaissance group of the armored forces of the Russian that were trying to cut a barbed wire. So the Ukrainians attacked these two soldiers, who was tasked to create a corridor, most likely in this area, with the purpose to continue offensive operation in the northern direction. Furthermore, pro-Ukrainian sources published an update. According to this update, the Russians also shortened the distance to the settlement of Gulyai-Polska from the southeast. So the pro-Ukrainian sources expanded the gray zone in this area. Both updates are telling us just one thing, that now the Russians are trying to increase the pressure on the Ukrainian positions from the south in the direction of the settlements of Novoselovka and Gulyai-Polska, and the Russians are keeping advancing in the same direction from the east. The Russians will try to establish complete control over the territory before the beginning of the battle for the city of Orekhov, and this offensive operation, Novoselovka-Gulyai-Polska offensive operation, is going to start obviously within hours. From the other side, we continue receiving updates, sometimes archived updates, of how Ukrainians were counterattacking the Russians in the northern Zaporozhye direction. During the previous night, another video was published by pro-Russian source, and here we can see how Ukrainians using infantry fighting carrier were trying to break through Russian defense. They were moving using vehicle. The Russians were attacking this vehicle with a shotgun rifle, with rifles, with FPV drones, and the Russians attacked and damaged this vehicle significantly. The vehicle was forced to stop, and the infantry landed somewhere at this point. So based on this video, we expanded the gray zone because there are still Russian soldiers to the north, but now we start receiving proofs that Ukrainians managed to approach the Uspienovka agglomeration from the northwest. So based on this video, we expanded the gray zone and we added additional, let's say, territories either under complete control of the armored forces of Ukraine or under complete control of the Russian forces. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation in the Konstantinovka direction, where the Russians are keeping advancing in the Drushkovka area. According to different sources, the Russians during the previous days managed to improve their position significantly. For example, this is the end of the 18th of March, this is the 19th of March, and this is the beginning of the 20th of March. According to these updates, the Russians answered the settlement of Priut, and the Russians are keeping advancing further in the northern direction with the purpose to force Ukrainians to fall back towards the settlement of Tarskoye. As for the settlement of Tarskoye, the Russians during the previous 24 hours attacked this territory with artillery and with drones, trying to slow down and to pin down the Ukrainian reinforcements and reserves that the Ukrainians are trying to redeploy in the southern direction with the purpose to stabilize the situation around the village of Priut. So there are very heavy clashes in this area, and the Russians are keeping advancing further. At the same time, the Ukrainians during the previous days, according to different sources, carried out several counterattacks in the direction of the city of Chasiv Yar. As of now, we don't have maps to make adjustments or videos that can confirm, but the sources are saying that the Ukrainians managed to improve their position significantly in the direction of the city of Chasiv Yar, and that the territory, let's say, between the Shevchenko micro district and the settlement of Chervona is already under complete control of the armed forces of Ukraine. So this is the situation in this area, and by these attacks, the Ukrainians are trying to ruin the Russia's plans to take the settlement of Konstantinovka in pincers. As you can see, the Russians are trying to improve their positions from the west of the settlement of Konstantinovka with the purpose to cut the main logistic lines from the west, and at the same time, the Russians during the previous days were trying to do the same from the east, but the Ukrainians managed to regroup themselves to counterattack and to restore control over the territories the Ukrainians lost during the previous battles. So we see that the clashes for Konstantinovka continue, and we see that these clashes are very difficult for both the Russians and the Ukrainians. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation in the European Union. During the previous night, we received lots of very interesting updates. The most important is that European leaders tried for 1 hour and 1.5 hours to convince Orban to lift the veto on a 90 billion euro loan for Ukraine. Moreover, following the outcome of the European Council summit, Prime Minister Fico stated that Slovakia is joining the blockade. Italian Prime Minister Meloni told European Union leaders that she understands Orban's positions, and the Orban's positions is very simple. He wants to receive Russian oil despite the conflict between Ukraine and the Russian Federation, and we know the position of Zelensky. He will never allow this to happen. I would like to remind you that in these months we'll see the elections, the parliament elections on the territory of Hungary, which will determine whether the current Prime Minister of Hungary, Viktor Orban, will stay on his position or he will be probably changed by the opposition leader, which means that from this very moment the opposition of Hungary, of course, will become in power, and they will start supporting Ukraine with law and with military assistance and with many other different things. Another important area is the Middle East. According to information we have, the situation continue worsening. Probably during the previous 24 hours, we received several very important videos, and probably the most important one is this one. I believe that you have already seen this video, and according to information we have, according to different sources, and according to the American sources, the Iranians managed to hit or managed to damage American F-35 over central Iran. The US authorities are saying that this aircraft managed to return back in the direction of Saudi Arabia and to safely and land, but later we received this picture where we can see how helicopters of the United States of America were probably conducting a search and rescue operation in Saudi Arabia, suggesting the aircraft probably crashed rather than landing safely. So maybe this is something like a backup operation carried out by the United States of America to shift attention of the media and the Iranians from the F-35 itself to this, let's say, desert and these fields. Very difficult to understand, but the US authorities officials are saying that the F-35 landed safely, maybe damaged, but landed safely. Later, different sources began speculating on this matter, and a few more sources stated that there was a second F-35 that was hit or damaged or something like this, but this time no proofs were provided at all. Another important thing is that, according to all these statements, all these videos, and all these things, we see that that Iranians still haven't lost their air defense capabilities, and the most important, their military capabilities. So, which means that the Iranians still continue receiving military support from different states, and this is a very important issue for the coalition. And during the previous 12 hours and during the previous 24 hours, the Israelis were attacking port infrastructure of Iran in the north. According to information we have, the entire navy fleets of the Iranians in the Caspian Sea was completely destroyed as a result of attack that was carried out by the coalition. In this video, we can see how several vessels and several ships of Iran were completely destroyed as a result of attacks. So this is a very important attacks for the coalition, because the Iranians with these attacks are losing their probably capabilities to receive additional support and supply, let's say, from the Russian Federation via the Caspian Sea, and probably from other countries and states. But at the same time, we received another very important video. This time, this video was published from the state of Tajikistan, and here we can see a huge convoy of trucks, and according to media, this is not just a truck, this is something like humanitarian aid, but the sources are saying that recently a drone factory was created on the territory of Tajikistan, and some sources are saying that using these trucks, using this situation with humanitarian aid, the state of Tajikistan is sending drones in the direction of Iran, and the Iranians later use these drones to attack the states of the Persian Gulf. And if we take a look at this road, we see where exactly this road is going. We can say that these roads can move further, let's say in the western direction through the state of Uzbekistan, then this road enters the state of Turkmenistan, and then through the territory of Turkmenistan, this supply can enter the state of Iran in its northeastern part, the part that is almost haven't been hit by the coalition since the beginning of the conflict in the Middle East, which allows the Iranians to create a safe infrastructure in the most northeastern part, to build drones, to prepare air defense forces, to establish electronic warfare equipment, and to expand this territory further and further in the southwestern direction. And starting of the 19th and the 20th of March of 2026, we began observing the consequences of this secure zone in the northeastern part of Iran. One or maybe two F-35s of the coalitions were damaged by the air defense forces of Iran. And the Iranians, of course, will try to expand this territory. They will try to receive more weapons from different states that are located behind the state of Iran. And it seems that as of now, the coalition is not able to do anything but this. The only thing that coalition is able to do right now is to establish complete control over the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz. According to information we have, during the previous days, the Americans have already sent at least 2 or maybe even 3 groups in the direction of the Gulf of Oman and the Persian Gulf. The first group that was sent by the United States of America is the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit that recently was discovered in the area of Singapore, and this unit continue advancing and moving further in the western direction. The sources are saying that 31st group will arrive in the area of Iran probably within the next 5 or 7 days. First of all, we are talking about US Tripoli and US New Orleans ships that are moving in this direction, and according to information we have, these ships have approximately 2.2 or 2.4 thousand soldiers, troops on board that can be used for the Iranian ground operation. And yesterday in the evening, we received another report that another group began moving from the area of San Diego. We are talking about the American military is accelerating the deployment of thousands of Marines and sailors to the Middle East amid tensions with Iran. A group of ships, the US Boxer and the 11th Marine Expedition Group, are departing earlier, transporting about 4,000 troops with aircraft, missiles, and assault vehicles. They will join other ships, including the US Tripoli. NBC News specifically specifies that 2,200 U.S. Marines will depart from Iran for Iran from San Diego in the coming days earlier than planned. So in total, we see that up to 8,000 soldiers will be deployed in the area of Iran for the ground operation. And the sources are saying that most likely, the coalitions will try to establish complete control, first of all, over the islands, over the island of Hark and over the island of Keshim, which are located along the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz. So, which is a very interesting situation. But as of now, we'll see probably before this date, before this happens, most likely we'll see more updates and more events on the matter of the work of air defense forces of Iran against the US and the coalition F-35 aircrafts and F-16s as well. And that's it for the short video. The Military with Samurai channel reminds we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.